don't know how well you can see me. Here's my list that I have done so far. I'm not going to spend a lot of time showing you the whole thing, but that's okay. What I spend my time on, honestly, things like hygiene, eating, cooking, cleaning up the kitchen, and with hygiene, like certain things, I broke it down. So hygiene, hair, makeup, brush teeth, shower, share, manis, petties, la la la. Cleaning the house, I broke down into vacuuming, dusting, like I do that. Make bed, laundry, organize stuff, mop, dishes, washrooms, kids' rooms, and all that fun stuff. And make sure you include all the good stuff too, not just the work stuff like dancing I put on there, journaling, listening to webinars, talking on the phone, la la la. And there's another page of mine, and I have to be honest, I stopped at 2 pages at this point, and I probably could do at least 2 more, maybe 3. I know there's way more that I do. So you can actually, part of this you can look at and go, oh my gosh, I really get a lot done in a day. Or you might go, wow, I really spent a lot of time watching TV or on Facebook. I don't have TV on my list. I decided 5 or 6 years ago to get rid of TV because it just didn't bring any value to my life or to my kids' life. So that was one thing that was easy for me to actually get rid of because I don't value it. So on to the next. Okay, making this visual. And I'm sorry, I had to upload this whole video in chunks because I didn't have enough space. Long story. Anyway, and when I recorded this part, it did not upload properly to YouTube, so I am redoing it at the end. So this initially should have been blank at this spot, but it isn't. You can see that, and that's okay. So draw yourself a circle in a journal, on a piece of paper, somewhere. Doesn't matter where. And that circle represents your time, your life. And you only get one life, by the way. Now, this circle is going to represent 1 week or 2 weeks of your life. Not a day, because you don't do everything on your list. You don't do all of those things in one day. And not a month, because that could be too overwhelming. So keep it, it's going to represent about 1 or 2 weeks of your life. And then what you're going to do is go back to your list, and one thing at a time, start just sort of making little sections according to how much time you actually spend on that. So the bigger the section, that means the more time you spend doing that activity. So for example, my social media section is quite large because I spend too much time on it according to me. And then my time meditating and stuff is too small. So go ahead and do that. Don't get freaked out about how much time you spend on each thing. If it doesn't exactly represent proportionately how much time you spend, it's not a big deal. Because what you're doing is just bringing all of this to your awareness. So don't get caught up in being perfect or exact. It's just to get your thoughts down onto paper. Okay, have fun. So step 2 is about making this visual or visible, or the other word was to integrate it. Now another way, another fun way, we're going to get fun with this again, even more fun, is we're going to make this for all of you who maybe are a little bit more kinesthetic and hands-on. So the visual, it might be okay, but this is for those of you who really like to get your hands into things, okay? I've taken just a bunch of old plasticine and created a 3D sphere or ball, and this represents this circle here, okay? This represents my time and my energy. So in essence, it's my life. Now, again, like I said earlier, how much of your life this represents is completely up to you. I am recommending 1 or 2 weeks because a little less than that, maybe you're not going to get everything in. Any more than that might be overwhelming. Okay, so what we're gonna do with this is we're gonna break up this ball into pieces and set them on our pie, our visual shape pie. What I'm gonna do is take my ball and start creating 3D versions of that. So for example, the social media takes a large chunk of my time. So I'm going to take what I feel is the right amount of my time that I spend in a week. It's probably a bit more than this. It's too much. Okay, it's almost half of my, well, but on here it's not almost half, but that's okay. Because here's the thing. If you feel like, I screwed up and I got it wrong and that doesn't really look like how much time, well, that's fine because subconsciously you know how much time you've spent on it. And the awesome thing about this is that if it's too big or too small, you simply take some off or you put some more on. Okay, so all I'm doing is actually literally setting that down on here. Okay, and then time with friends is not very big. It feels to me like it's actually not quite enough, but judgment aside, just being aware, I'm just going to take a piece that I feel represents how much time I actually get to spend with friends and set it on that piece, okay? And you just keep doing that until your whole plate is covered with this. And like I said, if it's not panning out, if you feel like, oh, that actually looks like not quite enough, put some more on. Or if you feel like, oh, that doesn't, it looks like it's too much, then take some off, okay? So when you get that done and you're happy with it, we move on to the next step. So pause the video, do that part, and then push play, and you'll see the next step. Okay, so this last part, step 3, is evaluating. So you're probably actually going to be doing a lot of evaluating while you're creating. That's how it goes naturally. But if you haven't really consciously been evaluating it, this is your opportunity to do it. There is one more little section of the video where I'm showing you what to do with the plasticine. But before I show you that really quickly, I just want to get some things going through your head so you can have this stuff happening in your head while you're playing with the plasticine. So first of all, as you're looking at all of the things that you have on your plate in your circle and with your plasticine circle, ask yourself, how much joy and happiness and pleasure does this activity bring to you or to somebody else? But this is about you, so mostly to you. And also, does the joy and pleasure that it brings, or the end result. So it could be that it brings you immediate joy and pleasure, or it could be that, you know what, this is kind of annoying right now and it's taking up a lot of my time and energy, but I know it's going to pay off in the long run. Okay, so the end result. Is the end result going to be larger than the effort that you're putting in? Okay, so ultimately is the joy and pleasure either right now or later down the road going to outweigh the effort that's going into it? That's something really important to think about and look at as you're doing your creation. And then also I want you to start thinking about why you're doing the things that you're doing on your plate. Are you doing them because it brings you joy and pleasure? Awesome. Are you doing it because you're doing it for somebody else at your expense? I mean, if you're doing something for somebody else and it's bringing you joy and pleasure to do it for somebody else, great. But if it's draining you, if things are becoming unbalanced, that's when you need to have a closer look at how you can change and shift things around. Obviously, some things that we do, we just have to do them. But you might want to look at, like I've been looking at outsourcing things like doing my laundry and cleaning my house and stuff like that, because I know that at this time in my life, it would be worth it for me to outsource that kind of stuff, because I have other priorities that I need to spend my time and energy on. So they have to be done, but if I can outsource them, I absolutely will. Okay, and then the big one to look for is, are you doing this out of obligation or guilt? That G word. And you're going to find, well, I know for myself, a lot of times I'm doing it out of guilt, and you've got to be so careful with that. It's not worth it to do things out of guilt at all. It's not worth it for yourself. It's not worth it for the other party or parties. So just be really, really aware. If you're doing things out of guilt, you're definitely going to want to relook at that. Okay? And then the last thing I want you to think about as you're finishing, you're creating the last part of this video is, can you put this thing aside for now, or maybe it's going to be permanently, don't know, but at least if the thought of getting rid of it altogether really kind of freaks you out, what about for now? What about just for a little while? See if you can do it that way. Or can you delegate it to somebody else, or can you negotiate, sort of multitask, do little bits and pieces, and at least cut back on it. Okay, so be aware of those things as you create. Enjoy the last part. So this is what I mean by having to play, because I have used up all my plasticine, but I still have a few things on my plate that I haven't put plasticine on. So now here's where I sort of evaluate, okay, well, I used almost half of my ball of clay or plasticine on social media, and I don't spend half of my time. I definitely don't spend half of my time on social media. That's just not realistic. Thank God. So anyway, I'm going to take a good chunk of that off. Okay, so I can disperse it between some of the other things that I haven't even put any clay on yet. Okay, and now I made balls, but you don't have to make balls. Or also, I just used some old plasticine that I had lying around. But if you are really like super visual, it might help you to have different colors for each thing. It's just that I don't even think there's that many colors of plasticine that are on my plate. So I'm not really too concerned about having different colors, but you might want to. That's what's awesome about this, is it's all so individual. You can completely take an activity like this and tailor it to your personality type or your needs. Okay, so I'm pretty much covered up here, and this is where you get to kind of play like, okay, these two are about the same size, so do I really spend as much time, like, do I really have as much alone time, enjoying myself, relaxing, as I do talking on the phone, on Skype, texting? Do I really spend about the same amount of time doing those kinds of things? And I probably do. And I'm not going to really overthink this. Like, don't, like, let your intuition take over. Okay? Let you know. Your higher self or your subconscious, whatever you want to call it, knows. Okay? Just if something is really standing out to you, you can go ahead and fix it, but don't spend forever making these exactly the right size. That's not what this is about. Okay? It's just to bring more into your awareness where your time and energy is going. And it's fun because you get to feel the clay in your hands. Okay? And then the next fun part is actually changing it purposefully now. Not like, oh, do I really spend that much time on my makeup? Now you're going to want to ask, do I want to spend? What do I want these to look like? What sizes do I want them to look like? Okay, so if I want to take the amount of time that I spend on social media and shrink it, I may not be able to do that on my visual piece, but now I can do it with this. And when you do it with this, so how much would I really, like let's say I want to cut the amount of time I spend on social media, I want to cut it in half. Okay? So, do it. Do it physically with the plasticine. It is done. And then what you're doing is you're shifting things in your subconscious. Okay, so you're bringing it to your awareness, and it's not going to happen overnight. But it's a process, right? You're starting something. You're beginning to shift the way you do things, the way you spend your time. And remember, this is about saying no to things that aren't in your greatest and highest good. Okay, so, cut social media in half. What you might want to do is have a journal beside you and write that down. I want to cut my social media time in half. So essentially what you're doing now is you're going to start creating goals for yourself. Okay? And I want to show you the funnest part of this. Let's say it's something that just doesn't serve you at all. You're like, you know what? I do this. It does nothing for me. It does nothing for my family. I really don't need to spend my time doing it. So for me, like I told you, I think I told you, maybe I didn't, I don't have cable. I cut out TV about 5 or 6 years ago. I just felt it didn't bring any value to me or to my family. I was spending money on it where I could spend my money in other places. So done. So let's just say that TV was on my pie still, and this was TV. You literally take your piece of plasticine and do it on your table or your journal, or it doesn't matter. You can take it and you can squish it, and it feels so good. So have some fun. Play, like, get rid of it, squish it, take it out on it if you want to. All right, get rid of it. Squish anything that you don't want on there anymore. Okay, so take some time. Take your plasticine, make it bigger, make it smaller, whatever it is you desire, and then as you do that, write it down so that you are even bringing it more into your awareness, and you're going to start taking action, and you're going to start to see your life change for the better. Okay, and you're going to start to say no to some things. Have fun with the process, enjoy, and please make note below about your progress, about your process. Let me know, how did it go? You can show me, post pictures of your product. Okay, let's talk about this and share ideas and talk about the process and what went well and what didn't go well and what we could change next time. It's all good. All right, enjoy, and I'm hoping to see some positive changes happening in your life, more time and more energy to do the things that make you feel good and uplift you and make you a better person so that you can be a better person for those around you. Okay, sending big love.